You are listening to the Midlife Plot Twist Podcast, and this is episode 8. Hello. Before I get on with introducing this week's episode, I have to apologize in case you can hear a snowblower in the background of this episode. I've been waiting for an hour for my neighbor to finish snow blowing, but he's not yet done, and my window of opportunity to record is closing. So here we go. Well, folks, today is December 1st, 2025, the last month of 2025 before we begin a new year full of hope and possibilities. What are your hopes and what possibilities do you see for the upcoming year? As I say in every episode, I would love to hear from you and a bit about where you're at. My intention is to grow a community around the experience of midlife plot twists, and that means that I'm really looking forward to connecting with you, truly. I'll let you know that I'm a one-person show over here. I do all the writing, recording, editing, publishing, content posting, and interacting with you on Instagram. And I'm the one who receives your emails at the email address for this show. So please do reach out. I will respond. You won't get canned answers or an assistant's reply. The email is midlifeplottwistpodcast@gmail.com, and my Instagram account can be found under Midlife Plot Twist Podcast. Also, I want to plug that I've created a Midlife Plot Twist starter guide for you in which I've shared 10 questions that helped me develop some clarity around what I need and want in this time of quite a bit of uncertainty. These are questions that I journal on regularly. When we've arrived at this moment in midlife, when we're not entirely sure what our next move is to be, or we are sure but we're not yet quite ready to make that move, asking ourselves meaningful questions really helps us to move beyond the fear in order to consider alternatives. It's normal for us to push away the task of answering important questions because it feels like we're making decisions we're not ready for, or that we're setting things in motion when we do so. But I'm here to say that you can think and journal all you want about your situation and answer these questions. And while you do, you're safe. It's just journaling and contemplating. It's okay to think of alternatives. So let yourself go there. It's been so much better since I started giving myself the freedom to think about these things. So if you're curious about these 10 questions, please head over to my Instagram account, which again is Midlife Plot Twist Podcast, and find my link tree in my bio. There, you'll find the links to access my Midlife Plot Twist starter guide. If you don't have Instagram, you can email me at midlifeplottwistpodcast@gmail.com and I will send it to you directly. Okay, so on with today's topic. I named December 1st specifically in my first episode, if you've heard it, as an important date. I said that I would be submitting my resignation on or by today. In the following episodes, however, I backpedaled on that because I realized that it didn't give me enough time to allow things to unfold. It also didn't give me enough time to make sure that this is actually what I want to do. And also, I'm scared. And I'm still hesitant to do things to make this decision. And I am also just being very cautious about my abilities physically right now and so on. But anyways, I have discovered since then that I'll never arrive at a point when I'm 100% sure that this is what I want to do, but resign, that is. But I can tell you that I'm 95% sure, and that's pretty close. So anyway, last week. I was hoping that while recording the episode, I would receive an email containing the answer to my application for the Masters of Social Work degree that I applied for, but I didn't receive an answer, unfortunately. So here I am on December 1st, and I am not submitting my resignation letter today. I do feel uncomfortable saying that since I set up the first episode of the podcast around that, but it's okay. More about that later. However, drum roll for suspense. That's my drum roll. I received the decision on my application only about an hour after I published my episode last week. So for 1 week now, I've been sitting on the fact that I have been accepted into the program, and it's been killing me. I thought of recording like a bonus episode or something just to say that I got in, but then I was like, okay, Jen, just do it next week and calm down. So I've been accepted. And it feels like such a joy and a relief to finally know what is happening in that area of my life. I still can't believe it. Well, I can partially believe it because I do know that I put in a very strong application, but you know how these things go. You just never know. So I did it. I'm going back to school, folks. I'm really going to do this. The program starts officially on May 4th. And I'm happy that this new part of my path is opening up in the new energies that come with springtime. Since I've been accepted into the program and I'm going to accept their offer of admission, I'm going to make the theme of this episode acceptance. So let's recap where I'm at here. I'm in my 40s. I will be going back to university to do a master's degree, part-time, mind you. And things are going to change drastically with my position at the university sooner rather than later. I will either be resigning in the near future or, and this is a new development, I'll be moving down to part-time professor instead of full-time professor and transferring departments. This, to me, seems highly unlikely that I'll be able to do both of those things, but it's an alternative that came to mind the other day, and I thought I should explore it before I discount it. You know, it's funny when things pop up in my mind like that. These ideas can turn out to be something that will be good for me, or they can be my fear kind of throwing things at me to get me not to resign. In this case, I think it's the latter because what I do know for sure is that this moment in my life, this early part of my midlife, feels like it's time for me to go big or go home, to go all in or to fold. You can insert any other kind of cliche like this here and it will apply. The truth is that I have important projects on the go that could occupy me full time. Each one of them is a vital part of who I am and who I want to be, and who I envision being in the future as well. Not only that, but they support parts of me that have held on since I was a child, even through the most difficult and the most exciting circumstances in my life. As I said in the last episode, I've always wanted to be a writer, a therapist, a leader and educator, and an autonomous person in my work life. I've held on to these dreams for at least since I was 8 years old. And I know that because of a little journal that my dad gave me when I was 8. And I wrote about being a writer and a helper for other people in that little journal. I have something on the go in each of these areas right now for the first time in my life, and it feels absolutely thrilling, terrifying, and thrilling. The more I talk about this, the more I think that it's time for me to accept that there are many possible avenues I could take next. But the one that makes the most sense and is the most frightening is indeed accepting that ultimately I want to let go of my position at the university and get on with everything else I'm working on or want to work on. I'm someone who journals daily. I have for years. Journaling helps me process what is going on inside of me. I thought it might be interesting for me to pause the recording in the episode for a moment and look back to some of the writing that I was doing at the time I went off work on sick leave 2 years ago. And I found this. November 3rd, 2023, 6:48 a.m. I wonder if I'm going through some kind of midlife crisis. I'm in middle age now, and maybe half of my life has been lived already. So how do I want the remaining years, the last half of my life, to be lived? If the first half of my life was lived in struggle, strength, perseverance, and learning, what kind of themes do I want the major ones of the last half, and how do I create, manifest, and maintain them? Pain and fear. There was always so much pain and fear and instability in the first half. Let this last half of my life be driven and experienced by the following themes: joy, abundance, love, stability, security, community, creativity, ease, trust, confidence, courage, and wisdom. I go on to write many other great words, but I'll spare you the words. Then it continues. Writing these things makes me feel excited because I believe it will be. No more struggling and guarding and bracing for catastrophe. I will move from bracing myself to embracing. This all feels really good. What do I want to embrace in my life right now and moving forward? Okay, so that's what I'll share from my journal from 2 years ago. And as you can probably hear, here I am. I am at the beginning of embracing all these themes that I wrote about 2 years ago. I love the idea of thinking of acceptance as embracing. And one thing I'll say as an aside is that one of the reasons I think journaling is so good is because we get to look back at how we were thinking and how we were feeling previously and either realize like, oh wow, I knew what I was talking about back then, or realize ways that I've changed, or I don't know, things like that. So it's really useful to journal. End plug for journaling. So as I was saying, I love the idea of thinking of acceptance as embracing, because I think the word acceptance can come with connotations of settling. Embracing, though, is active and loving. It's moving towards and enjoying what it is that you're now holding. Yeah, okay, I'm going to do this. I am going to embrace, not just accept, the fact that I want to resign. I'm going to embrace myself as a writer, as someone of support and service to others, as someone who is autonomous and independent, but surrounded by a wonderful community of brave and inspired and inspiring people. That's what I am choosing to embrace today, and it feels really good. What will you choose to embrace? What will you choose to embrace in 2026? In this last month of 2025, let's start thinking about what chapters we want to conclude with it, for the sake of making space in our lives for the new endeavors and adventures we can welcome and enjoy in 2026. Please share your answer with me by writing to me at midlifeplottwistpodcast@gmail.com or by connecting with me on Instagram at Midlife Plot Twist Podcast. Don't forget to request my free Midlife Plot Twist starter guide, either through the link in my Instagram bio or by emailing me directly. Finally, if you're enjoying this podcast so far, please follow it on whatever platform you use for podcasts and give it 5 stars. Doing so helps the algorithm gods know that it's worthwhile to push my podcast further. Okay, so that's it for this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. And until next week, be well.